And I have even helped lower the boom on old structures being torn down to make way for the new. Each of these occasions was important in itself, but all of them together have given real substance to the desire of Pittsburgh to rebuild on the old, to create a city which would be more livable, and to ensure the economic well-being and growth of our community and its citizens. And important though all these past dedications have been, I doubt if any has greater significance to our continued prosperity than this power plant which we are officially opening here today. For we know that Pittsburgh was founded because of its ready access to river transportation and to huge supplies of coal. This latter natural resource, so abundant in this tri-state area, provided the fuel, the energy for manufacturing, the essential elements to make the furnaces roar and the wheels to turn. And with our rivers, and later our railroads, highways, and now the airlines, we could bring raw materials in and ship the finished products out. Still today, our coal resources are the basic source of most of our power. But the effectiveness of coal has been mightily increased by using it to produce electric current. For instance, the one unit we have seen today at this power station has a net generating capacity of 95,000 kilowatts. To turn out this electric power, we requires the burning of 83,000 pounds of coal per hour. This is just one of 3 such generating units, which will have a combined capacity of 310 kilowatts, enough power to satisfy the residential requirements of a city with a population of 1,800,000 persons. Power stations in the Duquesne light system. The prosperity and growth of a community can be measured in various ways, but there is no truer barometer of it in these days than the amount of electric power which it produces and consumes. With such knowledge, or two, here, gentlemen, is true testimony, not only to the growth of this area, but to the continuing increase of the productive might of America. Here is in part the answer to the cynics at home and abroad who doubt the vitality of the America of 1952. There's another thing about this power station which is symbolic of the new Pittsburgh, and that is the use of metal sheeting to close its exterior. In many phases of our building program here of recent years, we have found increasing use of metals as facing for structures, as the Gateway buildings, the Alcoa building, and the glittering United States Steel Mellon Bank building vividly point up in Pittsburgh's skyline. This is a relatively new use for Pittsburgh products, one which opens up new markets for the metals we manufacture in this area with power generated by this plant. Power plants are not architecturally inspiring, but whatever they lack, in this sense, they more than compensate for by their function. The Elrama power station is the wellspring of energy upon which we can continue to build and expand and prosper. Its dedication today, gentlemen, is proof indeed that Pittsburgh proceeds and Pittsburgh progresses.
Thank you, Mayor Lawrence. No one has been more active in his support of Pittsburgh's redevelopment program than the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners of Allegheny County, Mr. John J. Kane. Commissioner Kane has not only cooperated fully in the building of new highways and bridges, but he has played the leading role in the development of the new Greater Pittsburgh Airport. This great airport, literally one of the finest in the world is one of the truly outstanding features of Pittsburgh's Great Improvement Program. It is also a monument to the vision of John Kane. As one of a family of 10 children, Commissioner Kane started supporting himself at the age of 13. At 15, he became an apprentice pressman, and only 10 years later, he was elected president of the Pressmen's Union, a position which he still holds. After serving in the state legislature and as a member of council of the city of Pittsburgh, Commissioner Kane has been chairman of the Board of County Commissioners of Allegheny County for the past 16 years. One of Pittsburgh's best-loved citizens, a symbol of the teamwork and cooperation which have made Pittsburgh's redevelopment program such a great success. It is a real pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable John J. Kane, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners of Allegheny County.
Mr. Chairman, Kincaid, Mr. Mullen, all other distinguished guests, I can only join with you in congratulating the Duquesne Light Company on this splendid power plant that they've built here. It fits into the program of progress and development of Allegheny County, and I know that we'll be very happy to continue our efforts to cooperate with the officials. The only one thing wrong, Phil, is that I just learned when I got here that it's in Washington County.
That's right.
Now, if we can do a little work to get it in Allegheny County, everybody'll be happy. We'll cooperate further.
Any project or program, however vast its magnitude, must have a beginning somewhere as a mere idea or expression of faith. If it can be said that the idea, for one, enlisting in the Navy, some years later, after he had become head of the great banking institution that bears his name, he again offered to serve his country in World War II. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal, and he now holds a commission as Major General in the Reserve Army of the United States. But success for himself has not been enough for Richard Mellon. He has been very active in numerous civic and charitable organizations. He is, among other things, among many things, a trustee of the University of Pittsburgh and the Carnegie Institute of Technology. He created the great Richard King Mellon Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Fine, Mr. Kane, Mayor Lawrence, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I can say very truthfully to you that I have enjoyed every minute of my visit to this gigantic power station. When Mr. Plager called me a few weeks ago and invited me to attend the opening of the Duquesne Light Company's Elrama power station, I was quite anxious to participate because of the development of electricity has always fascinated me. I realized what this tremendous addition of electric energy would mean to the future development of the Pittsburgh district, feeling as I do that a city can only progress in proportion to the growth of its public utilities and transportation. While on the train this morning and being impressed by the sight of many industrial plant expansions, I was reminded
of, and in my mind, tried to compare this day with that one of nearly 200 years ago, when General Washington noted certain ideal locations for town sites, particularly at the junction of the Allegheny and the Monongahela rivers. This observation, I recall from history, was made in his own handwriting when he returned to what is known today as Turtle Creek, which I recognize from the train window across the Monongahela. Of course, Pittsburgh was always important industrially, but really came into its own at the turn of the century, and from that time on has been inspiring and a bustling community. I well recall, upon returning to Pittsburgh shortly after World War I, when my father and I were invited by the late Arthur W. Thompson, then president of the Duquesne Light Company, to attend the opening of the most modern power station of its time at Colfax up on the Allegheny River. Of course, I was rather young in those days and was so impressed by the size of that station that I was quite certain that during my lifetime it would not be necessary to increase or add to the large amount of power that the Duquesne Light Company was even then producing. This just shows how far one's thinking can be when he is not closely associated or technically trained in regard to, say, the problems that have faced the Duquesne Light Company throughout these years. All of us are impressed by the sound judgment of Phil Fager and Press Mechanics, and it astounds me to think of these two good citizens not only producing enough power to fulfill the requirements of World War II efforts, but in keeping ahead of the present rapidly increasing industrial demands in this district. And that as we have recently entered a new era of power development, the atomic age, ramifications, of course, people like myself cannot anticipate. We do know, however, that here in Pittsburgh, there are many scientists who have been steadily working on the problems of perfecting atomic power plants to propel war vessels, and who, with their business associates, may be depended upon to make Pittsburgh of the future preeminent in the harnessing of atomic energy for non-military as well as military purposes. Pittsburgh is fortunate in having but to operate our elevators and the many and varied types of motors that are used in modern construction. It is always well to remember that the mere flick of a finger can start your electric fan of fractional horsepower, light the lights in your home, operate the numerous electrical appliances that are now considered everyday necessities. These are the contacts the average man has with electricity. But so many other men in this heavily industrialized district operate giant cranes, mold, roll, and fabricate steel by simply turning a switch. Since arriving in Elrama this morning, I have carefully inspected the marvelous generating plant, and am more than pleased to find that a great many of the materials used in the construction of this building. For the past few years, I, along with many other interested Pittsburghers, have joined the group known as the Sidewalk Superintendent, and have watched the changes in the Midtown area, the Point Park, the rapid growth of the buildings at the Gateway Center, the completion of the Greater Pittsburgh Airport, the creation of new parks, and not overlooking for a moment the vast new highway system. There are also many other developments in Pittsburgh which must not be overlooked. For instance, the expanded medical and research facility, offering the newcomers to Pittsburgh and those of us who were born here and have lived here the best in civic, cultural, and industrial advantage. Pittsburgh is truly marching ahead, but with this forward movement could not have been accomplished if it had not been for the cooperation of those who are providing electric energy, not only to light our building, but to operate our elevators and the many and varied types of motors that are used in modern construction. Been designed and fabricated in the Pittsburgh district. Pittsburgh is truly in a unique position. For a number of years, I was fortunate enough to be taken on some of the great hydroelectric developments in Tennessee, North Carolina, and even as far as Canada. So had an early education in the elementary field of developing electricity, and of course there again felt that hydroelectric power was one of the great natural resources of this country. But realizing that these plants could only be located where there was a tremendous abundance of water, I have for many years felt that Pittsburgh would have difficulty in mastering this particular situation. But with this practically unlimited coal field within easy reach, I can now see that we have really just scratched the surface of what Pittsburgh may accomplish in the years to come. However, it takes men of great vision and ability to plan the future of a rapidly changing community. And I am sure when this operation at Elrama is fully appreciated by our people here, they will be given greater impetus to fulfill the accomplishment of projects